So in chapter 7, this is where we learn about clipping masks and typography design. So we're going to open up the 07 start PSD file. So here's the file that we'll be working on. So this is a continuation from the previous chapter. So go ahead and use the file that was provided, and you also want to download the circuit board file as well, because we're going to be using that in this chapter. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a save file. So file, save as, and then make sure that this is saved to your digital media folder. So I think I have mine in the classes somewhere here, digital media, so we'll just save it here. And then for your name, you're gonna do your initials, underscore, chapter 7, and let's name it typography, just typography. And then we'll go ahead and save that. Let's do save. Click OK. Okay, so now we have our save file. And first thing after we save is we're going to view and fit on screen, like that. And then for this one, we're going to be creating guides. So you need your rulers to be visible. So these are my rulers on the top and side. If you can't see the rulers, you're going to go to View, Rulers, or you can click Command R. So that's the shortcut. So if I do Command R, they disappear. Command R, they're back. And you will also want to make sure that they're set to inches. And the way you check that is if you right click, these are all the different sizes. So we want to set that to inches because we are going to be creating a vertical guide in a specific area. So to create a vertical guide, so verticals up and down, we're gonna drag from the left ruler, so click and drag, and if you look at the numbers, we're gonna go to 4.25 inches, which is right about here. So it kind of locked into place because that's the center. So that's our first guide. And this is a guide pretty much showing us where the center point of our entire work or image is. And we're going to be creating a text, and in order for it to be centered, we need a guide. So the next part is we're going to click on our background layer right here. And then you're going to create a text, a horizontal type tool. And before we create our text here, we're going to change a few options. So let's go to Window at the top. Now, when you go to Window, you'll see a bunch of different options here. So if you ever see that your layers are missing, this is where you get them back. So if your layers are gone, if you go to Window, you can select Layers and they come back. Now since we're adjusting our type, like our text, we can go to Window and Character. Character is another word for text. We can open that and you'll see that we have a lot of different options here. Now it's also at the top, so either one of these works. So I'm going based off of our classroom in a book, and our book tells us that we need to choose a serif typeface. So we're going to go to our type here, and if you see there's a filter, we can actually switch to serif. Now serif is basically font that has like little tiny feet at the ends, meaning if you look, there's also a sans serif, meaning no feet. So for this one, they want feet. So serif. Let's look for one called Minion. I think this one's pretty close. Minion variable. The book tells us Minion Pro regular, but I don't have that, so this is the closest one. And then we need to do a 144 point, which I already have it set right here. And we need to center the text. So if we switch to the paragraph tab right here, we can center it, or you can click on center up here. So that means when we create our text box, it's going to be centered and not left aligned or right aligned. We want it centered. And then our tracking, so let's go back to character. Our tracking needs to be set to 100. Tracking's the overall space between letters, and I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. But if you hover your mouse over this, it says set tracking for selected characters. So we want to set that to 100. And now that we have all of that set, we're going to create our text. So grab your mouse and click right in the center, somewhere here. I'm going to scroll up a bit. And then we're going to type the word digital in all caps. Digital. I can switch to my move tool and move it back so we can see it. Somewhere there. So since we selected the background layer and we added the text is now above the background. If you happen to have it above the model, all you have to do is drag it down so that it's behind her head. So make sure you do that part. So, oh, and I was gonna show you what the tracking looks like. So if I go to the digital layer and I'm gonna double click on the T icon so I can highlight the text, and then the tracking here, if I click and drag, this is tracking. So that's the spacing between the letters. So I leave it at 100. And then we can click check mark or click return on your keyboard, and it'll accept the changes. Now our book now wants us to change the font because this one doesn't really seem to quite fit. So we're gonna double click the T, and we need to select a font called Myriad Pro. So let's go for Myriad. So let's switch the filter and let's just show all classes, and we can actually type in Myriad, M-Y-R, right here, Myriad Pro, and then let's make that bold. So where is the bold feature? Oh, right here. So instead of regular, we're gonna switch this to bold, like that. And then we want to make sure that it's centered, which I do see that it's centered. If yours is a little off, you can just switch to the move tool and move it around. So right here is centered. And we're good to go as far as the text. I think that fits in there. So let's save our progress. Now the next part is where the circuit board comes in. So you're gonna have to download the circuit board image, and then we're gonna go find it and open it. So if you downloaded it is going to be in your it's going to be in your downloads folder. For me, I actually moved it, so it is in my digital media folder. It is right here. So we're gonna open a circuit board. So you need this open, and then we're going to go to Window, Arrange, and we're gonna select 2 up vertical because we want to see both images at the same time, like this. I'm gonna close this too. So what you're gonna do next is you're gonna drag the circuit board into your working file, the digital file. So all you do is click and drag it over. If for some reason it doesn't work, so let me delete this. If for any reason it doesn't work, so again, if you click, whichever one you click on, you'll see that the layers change. So make sure you're in the circuit board side. If that doesn't work, try holding, I believe it's Shift and then click and drag. But once you have the circuit board on here, we can now go to this top tab and we can close it because we don't need it anymore. And now this layer 1 has the circuit board that we brought in from the other tab. So let's go ahead and double click on layer 1 and we're gonna name it circuit board. So we want to make sure we're naming our layers, keep it organized. And so once you name your circuit board, see how it's still selected, we're going to scale it down. So there's a couple ways you can do this. I like using the shortcut Command T to transform, or you can go to, I believe it's edit, and if we transform, scale is right here. So again, that's edit, transform, scale. I just use Command T as a shortcut, but it does the same thing. And then you're gonna grab the corners and we can scale it down. Now if you hold Control, I think it's Control or Option. Is it Option? Yeah, it's Option. If you hold down Option, it will scale it down in proportion to the image. So I'm holding Option right now. And we want to scale it so that it's the width of the artwork. So like right here. That's good. All right. So this next part, now make sure that your circuit board is above the digital. Circuit board's right above. And the reason is we're going to turn the circuit board into a clipping mask. And the way clipping masks work is it is applied to whatever layer is underneath it. So I want you to right click on circuit board and do create clipping mask. And you can see that now your mask is being applied to the word digital, and you can actually move this around to an area that you like on the circuit board. So I'm going to put mine somewhere there. And then the next part, we want to add some sort of dimension to our word because right now it's looking a little flat. So we're going to click the word digital. So this is our text, and we're going to apply a layer style. So down here where it says FX, add a layer style, click on it, and we're going to do an inner shadow, and this window is going to pop up. This is where we can switch our options. Now if you look at your side, there's a lot of different layer style effects that you can apply. And you see inner shadow is the one we selected, so it has a check mark. We can uncheck it, and you can see that it actually makes a pretty big difference. So our book wants us to put blending mode as multiply, which I already have. The opacity needs to be set to 48%. So here's our opacity. I'm just going to type in 48. Our distance needs to be 18. So switch this to 18. Choke to 0. So drag this all the way. And size to 16. So I'm going to type in 16. Now if you can't see the preview, that's might be this right here that's not checked. Sometimes it will get a little buggy and it won't show it. So hopefully your Photoshop doesn't glitch out or anything. But here are the settings that we need, and then we're going to click OK. And now you'll see that it applied the effect inner shadow, and you can actually turn this off to kind of see. If for any reason you applied an additional effect by mistake, you can click and drag this to the trash and it'll get rid of it. But I'm going to undo, so Command Z, I'm undoing. Or you can do undo right here. So this is the first portion. We're gonna save this, and in the next video we'll talk about adding paths as like a text path.